Hello everybody, what is up? My name is John Solo, Twitch's #1 hand model, and for today, we're coming at you with a Phase 8 update video for Rogue PvP, because I cannot even believe I get to say this again, but Blizzard actually buffed rogues in PvP yet again. While all other classes are only seeing nerfs, we are seeing actual tangible buffs in both offense and defense. So the goal of this video is to explain the playstyle, show you what's changed, and then go over our BiS Gear and runes. But first, we have to thank today's sponsor of this video, Tears of Your Enemies. Tears of Your Enemies! They taste salty. Available anywhere there are enemies. Now, jumping into the video, but seriously, if you do learn anything, please hit that like or subscribe button. Okay, so starting off the guide, we're going to talk about the playstyle because nothing's changed. We're still playing this extremely high damage backstab build that lets us just absolutely obliterate people through insane burst that by the time they realize that they're in trouble, it's just far too late. Quickly, to talk about our poisons before I forget, we are using Sebaceous on the main hand, which is like a basically exposed armor, and then crippling on our offhand. Now, we open the same with every class, starting from stealth, and we open with the cheap shot. Due to our gear, which we will touch on later, we actually get a free backstab from the cheap shot. So we use that backstab, and then we follow it by 2 more backstabs due to our runes, making backstab only 30 energy, which again, we'll talk about later. But anywhere in there, if you get a cutthroat proc, we replace one of those backstabs with an ambush because 15% of the time with this rune cutthroat, we actually get an ambush out of stealth to be able to use from a backstab. So we're looking out for these ambush procs as we get them and using them in place of backstabs. Once we get 5 combo points, which is usually before the cheap shot ends, we between the eyes, and then we go back into our backstab, spam, and then we ambush, whenever we have a proc. Notice that in this time, I haven't mentioned anything about energy, and that is because we don't have to worry about it. Our openers make our next move free, and that includes ambushes while not in stealth, and due to our gear and talents, our finishers also refund more energy than they cost, meaning that a kidney shot plus the natural regeneration refunds enough energy to backstab or ambush pretty much every global in between. And then like when you want to shake it up, you can just vanish and then use a cheap shot again to start backstabbing more. And I mean, you have T too, so you can always T if you really want to, but because we're getting all these free backstabs and then we're getting ambushes that give us more free backstabs, we're just getting so much stuff for free, and then it already costs half of what it does on, Classic, so it's just insane, this play style. So how can we still play this high damage build that focuses on overwhelming offense after Blizzard nerfed physical damage on March 20th? Well, I was actually shocked when I did this test, and I didn't even feel this post-nerf. I ran around and I PvP'd for like 10 hours straight all through World PvP, and I have a working theory on why other classes felt this much harder than rogues did, and that is because the 25% additional physical damage reduction that was added is actually added to the damage roll, but then all these increases are actually added post damage roll. So I'm not going to stay too long on it or explain it anymore because I could be wrong, as this is just a theory as to the why. But I did want you to know the spec still totally works, and it is definitely the preferred spec over Mutilate or do people play Saber Slash? I don't know. Don't play Saber Slash. Definitely play Backstab. If you want to be that weird person, you could try Mutilate, but I would really stick away from both Mutilate and Saber Slash and just play this Backstab build. As for the gear, we're still using a lot of the same gear, but we are shaking it up a bit. We're keeping on Craft of the Shadows because it lets us drop a point from Dirty Deeds without affecting our opener at all. We still have the 3-piece ZG set with the neck to make Cutthroat's proc a 20%, the bracers for that 5% crit from the 3 set, and the trinket, which gives us an ambush proc and 2 backstabs from 60 energy on a 2-minute cooldown. We are personally using the STV trinket, but you could put Fetish of the Sand Reaver here instead if you wanted that meme, but I just prefer the PvP trinket in all scenarios. We still pick up the 4-set DPS tier 2 for the set bonuses of the 20% damage to backstab and ambush, and then the 2-set, which makes our next move after an opener cost no energy, which again works with Cutthroat, so that out of stealth ambush also procs this effect. We are keeping the gloves for the disarm immunity, the belt and pants next, but here's where we get into the gear changes. We are taking off the Deception Boots and replacing them with the Tier 2 for the bonuses, and then we are also putting back on the Filcher's Cowl for that stealth increase. We get the 2-set ambush backstab increase from the Tier 3 with the shoulders in the ring, and then we also get the new 2-set of the tanking Scarlet tier gear for 5% damage increase on our rolling with the punches. So on top of the 2% expertise that this gives, it also gives you 36 defense skill, which is huge versus melee, and we get the helm and chest here. Combined with the shoulder enchant that you're picking up the tanking tier 2 2-set to make rolling with the punches stack with combo points. And then we also get that 5% damage from the new tier 3.5 or whatever we're calling the Scarlet gear. And then you also get 25% HP, which is just gigantic defensive wise. But the nice thing here is that we are not giving up our offense for defense really, because we are getting a 5% bonus all of the time, where if you remember in this slot, normally we got 10% damage for 6 seconds through our opener. But again, we'll talk about runes in a minute. For the ranged weapon, we keep Toxic Injector to round out our 5% expertise, which is what feels best. I know the cap is supposed to be 4% in PvP, but in my hundreds of hours of play, there's some like weird interaction that I can't explain where 5 just feels needed and way better. Not gonna stay too much on it, but you really only need 4%, so you could technically change this out for something else. For the melee weapons, we keep King's Fall, but we're moving it into the offhand, which makes it officially our slowest offhand ever in any version of WoW that we've ever used. It's so weird. But anyways, we move King's Fall to the offhand, and we put Queen's Fall, the new weapon from the Scarlet Raid, into the main hand, because it gives us the set bonus that refunds 20 energy on our finishers, and then it also, refreshes our Rupture and our Crimson Tempest, which we're not really using in PvP very much, but Queen's Fall has the highest high-end damage in the game, which is why we want it as this backstab ambush build. And so we're going to keep King's Fall in our main hand until we get a Queen's Fall, but the moment we get Queen's Fall, we move King's Fall into the offhand, Queen's Fall goes into the main hand because it has more high-end damage, and that's what most of these multipliers go off of, is that number. But that's it for the gear. For the runes, the helm and the bracers are the only ones that we really could debate for Phase 8. The rest of them are pretty much mandatory. All the helm rooms are pretty good. Honor Amongst Thieves is good because it gives us more finishers through getting more dots because we're constantly critting, but we don't really care about finishers, so we don't really care about that. All we care about is more backstabs, ambushes, and these other two, they just give us more energy. I personally like focus attacks over combat potency due to King's Fall being so slow. You have to think about combat potency being a once in 10 move because it's every 5 auto attacks. King's Fall is a 2-second swing timer, so that means that it's going to proc like once every 10 seconds, which focus attacks is just constantly because we're critting all the time. It's just nice. So that's why I picked that one. For the bracers, don't use Cut to the Chase. You could use either one of the other twos, but really don't use Cut to the Chase. I personally use Unfair Advantage because I don't use Crimson Tempest or Rupture in PvP, but because they buff Carnage and the Queen's Fall, King's Fall set bonus might make it worth trying to weave in a Rupture or a Crimson Tempest here or there. But honestly, I really still can't see using the global on anything but backstabs and ambushes and it being worth it. For the rings, we go daggers and defense skill. Since nature specialization doesn't really do anything for PvP, we want that 25 defense skill to just helps us a little bit versus melee. And then I guess we'll just go backwards from here. Boots, you get rolling with the punches. We explained it a little bit earlier, but we're going to explain it again. Now, because it gives us 5% damage along with 25% HP and stacks with combo points, we didn't used to get this because it costs us 10% damage over 6 seconds in our opener, which we were resetting with 1-minute vanishes, which we no longer have now. So it just makes rolling with the punches a better talent to pick up just because, again, it gives us 5% damage all of the time, along with the other bonuses that we mentioned. For the pants, we get Between the Eyes, which is basically an Eviscerate and Kidney Shot combined into one, and it's our go-to finisher. You do have to remember that it lasts 1 second less than a Kidney Shot, so there are still situations if you really needed your target stunned for 6 seconds where Kidney Shot would still be the go-to. Or if you have a really, really low target and you think that you can just burst them down with an Eviscerate still does more damage. So, we don't always use Between the Eyes, but it's definitely our go-to, and the one that that we like comboing after our cheap shot the best. For the belt, we get Shadow Step, which gives us another gap closer. Shadow Step also increases your movement speed by 70% for 3 seconds, but we really don't care about that. We really like the gap closer. We try and use it just basically, we don't use it at the beginning of the fight to get to our target. We really like using it if our target gets away. We just gap close with it. Gloves, we get Cutthroat, which with the ZG neck allows Backstab a 20% chance to proc ambushes that are usable out of stealth, and they make it so that you don't have to be behind somebody to use your Backstab ambush. But you really should still try to get behind them because they can't dodge your parry from behind. When somebody's stunned, you don't really have to worry about it, but whenever the stun ends, you really want to try and fight behind your targets still. For bracers, again, we personally get unfair advantage, but it's very subjective on this one. For the chest, we get Slaughter from the Shadows to make Backstab and Ambush 30 energy instead of 60, allowing us to literally double the amount of them. BOGO Backstabs! I can't even believe it. For the cloak, we get Fan of Knives to give us the ability to AoE rogues out if they vanish on us. That's pretty much all this rune does. You want it because you can use it when you can't see them, where if you get Crimson Tempest, you have to have a target and dots. This just allows us that natural Fan of Knives that you've seen in the other versions of the game. Gives us this one too, and we just have to give up our, cloak rune, which is not a bad trade-off. Shoulders, we get Soul of the Poised Brawler to allow combo points, including the ones from Unfair Advantage, to stack rolling with the punches. This one's mandatory now that we are using the T2 of the tier 3.5. It's just a mandatory rune. And then with the Helm rune, which is again subjective, we get focus attacks. And that's it for the runes. These are the talents. Not too much to say about them. The weirdest thing that's here is that we take the 1 point out of Dirty Deeds and just move it somewhere else. We also moved 2 points from stealth speed back into elusiveness since we lost the minute vanishes, and that's pretty much it. I'm not really going to take 5 minutes of your time to explain these since they're all pretty straightforward, but if you did have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to leave a comment below. I do try and answer every single one of them. And with that, we're done! Thank you all for watching. It really means a lot to me that you chose to watch my video with so much content out there. If you made it this far, please hit the like button. It really helps other people find the video. If you like the PvP clips in the video, which there wasn't very much of them, there's plenty more better clips that happen live on Twitch. We do lots of Silly Goose PvP things there across Season of Discovery, Classic Era, Anniversary, Retail. We tell ridiculous stories along the way. Come on over and laugh and listen to our dumb stories. If you found the video helpful, please consider subscribing to the YouTube for more helpful guides and other content related to WoW. And thank you all again for watching, and have a good rest of your day.